Hello, welcome to Watan Al Karama News Service. It is 9 p.m. our time for top stories, and we start with latest developments and top news items from Libya. The head of the Presidential Council of the National Unity Government, Faiz Sarraja, said that reaching to current situation has not come easily. This comes after difficulties and challenges that the country suffered from until the National Unity Government was formed, which is the second phase in the political agreement, as well as the completion of the formation of a security committee, which will start work from the capital Tripoli very soon, according to him. Sarraj also confirmed that the new cabinet will be sent to the parliament for approval. Member of Parliament Aisha Al-Arabi described some of the candidates for the National Unity Government as argumentative, adding that there was a weakness in the process of selecting these names. Al-Arabi said that one of the reasons behind the withdrawal of Parliament member for the Eastern region, Ali Al-Gatrani, is detecting the presence of terrorist militia in this government, and the Presidential Council in charge did not find a real guarantee for the armed forces that fight terrorism and didn't achieve justice between the three regions in the distribution of ministries. Al-Arabi added that the government is not subject to quotas but is subject to major leaders of the militia that seized the control of this government. Mayor of Tobruk Municipality Faraj El-Mabri said that Libyan state or government will exist only after the liberation of Benghazi city, stressing that the eastern region is historically a base for the Libyan state. El-Mabri added that Libya drone militia has a large number of armed formations and are seizing power in the west of the country, which makes them live comfortable with a lot of power and money that will not announce it easily. He called on the international community to lift the ban on arming the Arab Libyan armed forces because they are real protectors of the nation and any national government. The Italian Parliament chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee said that the new government's agenda includes substantial commitments, hoping that it will be able to represent reference point for the Libyan people. He added that the announcement of the formation of the government was a critical first step to overcome the crisis in Libya, expressing his hope that the new government enjoys a parliament authorization as soon as possible in order to begin the process of actual stability in Libya. Forces of Border Guards Battalion Number 21 raided Ajdabia with the support of City Yas, a leader form of the terrorist group called Asadi Nofili, southeast of Ashuruk Mosque at industrial area. A military source said that they found inside the farm on a wide range of weapons, ammunition and bags ready to blow up, pointing out that the armed forces and support troops prepare these days to raid the industrial district and farms surrounding it to catch the terrorist elements. The source confirmed that the armed forces and young supporters in Ajdabia achieved progress in all fighting districts in the city. And now to Derna, the armed forces and Derna Youth foiled a suicide bombing on the terrorist Daesh group eastern of Derna city. A media source said that the two Shadian wearing explosive belts and women's clothing tried to blow up themselves in the center of the town, pointing out that the two terrorist elements are trying to enter the city from the crossroads of Wadi Shalala, but they have been killed before the implementation of the process at Sahaba Street in Derna Center. The American newspaper Wall Street Journal said that the terrorist Daesh group fighters launched an attack in Libya over the past weeks by sending 3 boats fired on an oil station in Zuwaitina. The newspaper added that this confirmed the growing capabilities of the terrorist groups. The newspaper added that the basic concern in the West in the region is not for the salvation of Libya, but to ensure the non-divergence of Libya have for terrorists with access to oil revenues and then shift to the risk of Syria along the Mediterranean coast. And now my audience will transfer to the international items. And now from Egypt, Chinese President Xi arrives in Egypt for a two-day visit on the second stop of three-state Middle East tour. Chinese President state visit to Egypt could further upgrade the two countries' relationship and yield greater potential for cooperation between China and Egypt. Chinese ambassador to Egypt, Song August, said. Song made the remarks in an interview with the China Central Television prior to Jinping's upcoming visit, which comes as China and Egypt, the first Arab and African country to recognize the People's Republic of China, celebrate the 6th anniversary of joint diplomatic relations. Song said the China-Egypt relationship is a comprehensive strategic partnership. Chinese president visit takes place at a time when the two countries' relations have marched into a new phase, which will greatly deepen the developments of the two nations' friendly cooperation in sectors including politics, economy, culture and tourism. Chinese president pays state visits to Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Iran from January 19 to 23. Defense chiefs from United States, France, Britain and four other countries met in Paris today to examine ways to build on gains made against terrorist Daesh group, including increasing the number of police and army trainers. Terrorist Daesh group was ousted by government forces from the western Iraqi city of Ramadi last month and has been slowly pushed back in other areas. France was the first country to join US-led airstrikes in Iraq since the Paris attacks by extremist Daesh militants in November. President François Hollande has stepped up French aerial operations against terrorist Daesh group, including in Syria, contributing about 20% of coalition strikes. British Defense Secretary Michel Fallon said that there would be a meeting with Arab ministers in Brussels in the next few weeks. And now my audience will transfer to Syria. International broker talks between Syria's government and opposition groups should start this month as planned, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says after talks with the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in Zurich. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in the Swiss city of Zurich today, shortly after the arrival. The two discussed ways to push the Syria's peace process forward amid questions as to whether talks between the government and the opposition could go ahead on January 25. Asked by a pool reporter whether Lavrov and Kerry thought they could come to an agreement about who would represent the opposition at the talks, Lavrov said, "It's mostly for de Mistura, not for us," referring to the UN Special Envoy for Syria, Stephen de Mistura. De Mistura had no comment on Lavrov's remarks. His spokesman said the United Nations said it wouldn't issue invitations to the talks until major powers pushing the peace process, which include the United States, Russia, reach agreement on which rebels representatives should attend. A suicide bomber kills at least 4 people in evening rush hour in the Afghan capital near the National Parliament, government ministries and the Russian embassy. Afghan security forces are on the ground in the capital, where officials say a suicide bomb has killed at least 4 people. The blast struck in a Kabul district near the National Parliament, government ministers and the Russian embassy. At least 20 people were also wounded. This was the greatest in a series of suicide attacks in Kabul that have coincided with renewed efforts to revive a peace process with the Taliban that broke down in July. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Germany cannot take in all the asylum seekers who want to begin a new life there, and it's not unethical of Berlin to limit the influx. President Joachim Gauck said on Wednesday, pressing other European countries to share the burden. Germany has borne the brunt of Europe's biggest refugee crisis since World War II, with more than 1 million asylum seekers arriving in the country last year, most fleeing war and poverty in Syria, Afghanistan and Iraq. Many German local authorities say they they are struggling to cope with the influx, and pressure is mounting on Chancellor Angela Merkel to reverse her open door policy and even close the country's borders to new arrivals. Merkel's insistence that Germany will cope with the influx of 1.1 million migrants last year and more this year has angered some local authorities struggling to house people. Merkel has vowed to measurably reduce arrivals this year, but has refused to introduce a cap, saying it would be impossible to enforce without closing German borders. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.watanilkarama.tv. Thanks very much for being with us. My greeting, رانيا البليدى.
وطن الكرامة.